Well, good morning. Oh, excuse me. It's the first time talking, I think, in a couple of hours. Good morning. How's it going? It's been a week. It's been a week. Last week on Thursday, in the middle, about an hour into the live stream, my internet went out and it was out for 5 full days. So I finally got it fixed on Tuesday this week. And I did about lunchtime, right around lunchtime, and I did have this thought like, oh, schedule a stream this afternoon and start a sprint. And I was like, no. I, I'm getting ready for a sprint that starts on April 1st. I lost 6 days, which I thought that I was going to be streaming. So, sometimes you just have to pivot. You just have to deal with what's going on and pivot and figure it out. So in addition to losing internet for 5 days, we also had a blizzard here in Minnesota. By the way, hello, welcome. My name is Angela. I'm a front-end developer and software engineer in St. Paul, Minnesota. My internet went out last week on Thursday, and then starting Saturday night, we had a blizzard that lasted for 24 hours with sub-zero temperatures for about 2 days. 2 or 3 days. It was cold. It was really cold. It was like zero and below zero, which is pretty wild for March. It's not unusual to get snow in March. We could even get a snowstorm in April, but to have the temperatures drop that much, that's crazy. That doesn't happen and I don't very often. And I don't have my chat ready. Sorry about that. So that's what was happening here. And, just kind of got to deal with it, right? My parents, who have an amazing internet connection, but they live like 30 miles away from me, offered to let me come over to their house and stream. And if it hadn't been for the blizzard, I would have done it. But it's just way too much to manage when there's that much snow or when the weather is happening, right? It's too much. I can't deal with it. So here we are. Let's say hello to the folks in the chat. Malik Robinson is here. Go Elmo. Um, Malik, thank you so much for being here. We've been chatting casually on Instagram, keeping him up to date. So I appreciate that. And I watch the next day because I am busy. Okay, backlogs cover the next day. Well, thank you for checking in. Thank you for subscribing. You are from India. We are happy to have you. We have an awesome international audience that I seriously appreciate. You guys are many, many hours ahead and you stay up late to watch me, and I definitely appreciate that. If you're new here, do me a favor. Go ahead and like the video, subscribe if you're not already. We'd be happy to have you. I'm here when the internet is working. I'm here 4 days a week, Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. And we just practice front-end development here, mostly vanilla, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Well, really all vanilla at this point, because I think that the basics are really important. You obviously will need to know a library or a framework to get a job. I think that is totally implied, but if it's not, I'll go ahead and say it out loud. You need to know a library and a framework to get a job. I personally know Vue and Angular. I've worked on sites with Bootstrap and Foundation. I've never built a site from scratch using a CSS framework. I've never needed one. I've always done it. I've always just rolled my own. I was a Sass user for a really long time. I enjoy Sass. And I'm in my vanilla CSS era right now. That's where we're at. So if you enjoy that type of thing, if you have a desire to understand vanilla a little bit better, which really, if you think about it, HTML, vanilla CSS, vanilla JavaScript, these are the three things that the browser renders natively. So if you want to have a deeper understanding of the internet and the browser, especially with CSS, when it comes to a user agent style sheet, cascade, inheritance, specificity, those are all things that you will develop a deeper understanding of if you do one or two projects with vanilla. So if you have a desire to do that, I suggest it. And I have a lot of experience. I've been doing this for 13 years, and I can tell you every time I started a new job at an agency or an organization, the first thing they do to a junior developer or a new person is they give you the backlog of old tasks. It could be legacy code, especially if you're in an agency where they will sell a maintenance package to, they'll build a new website for somebody and then they will sell them a maintenance and hosting package. That's very common. And somebody has to manage those tasks. So those tasks could go into the backlog or they'll just get assigned to the new person. It could be a legacy code base from 10 years ago. Won't always be a shiny new React app or a Tailwind project. You're going to need to know a little vanilla to work on that stuff. So I recommend it. That's what we do here. And just to let people know kind of what's coming up, I have something planned for April. I'm calling it 30 Days of Vanilla JavaScript. And we kind of need to start working on this today. We are in the middle of a project. Let's see here. Well, let me say hello to a few people here. I'm like going deep into the stuff. Let's at least say hello to a few people here. Christian Codes is here. Welcome, Christian Codes. Thank you for joining us. Also a mod in the chat. We love having you. If you haven't checked out Christian Codes on YouTube, he streams every day, sometimes twice a day. He's learning React. I don't know. I don't understand anything that he's doing because I don't use React personally, but it looks very complicated and he appears to be building things that are really, really nice. So I would highly recommend Christian Codes on YouTube. He has he's working on a lot of cool stuff there. So, and it's fun to see people. I don't know, Christian, I just think you are moving quickly through this technology. You're learning very fast. That's what it looks like to me. So, and let's see here. I'm going to go, can we go to Shona? I don't think I'm going to be able to pronounce this name. I apologize. And this person is saying, let's start the lesson. Well, hold your horses. We're getting there. It's been a week and we chit-chat a little bit at the beginning. So hopefully you're okay with that. Can you do a bit easier but beautiful site? So you want me to build a website that is easier for you but more beautiful. I'll try. I will try my hardest. So, and Malik says, good to have her back. Lots of people here today. Yeah. This is a channel where you get what you get and you will sit there and you will like it. So I'm not sure what else to say. Here's the project that we have been working on. Let me pull up GitHub. So we've been working on this project called Colorado. We were in the middle of QA when the stream ended last week on Thursday because my internet went out. And here's the thing, we have a little bit of a pickle here, okay? The pickle is this. In 2 weeks, we're gonna start 30 days of vanilla JavaScript. And I thought we would be done with Colorado by now, but of course I haven't been here for the last week. And we're only really about halfway done with this project. My plan for the last 2 weeks of March is that we were going to design and build a website for 30 days of vanilla JavaScript. Because I am now the proud owner of a domain name that is 30daysofvanillajavascript.com. Christian Code says, period. Yes, I think you're responding to, you get what you get and you will sit there and you like it. That's my philosophy. And I think that's Christian's philosophy as well. So, because that's how you kind of have to do things on YouTube. I've learned. And I think Christian has learned the same thing. Anyways, I think we need to set aside Colorado until May because we need to get started working on 30 days of vanilla JavaScript. And you know what? That is just fine. This is how it works in the real world when you work at an agency or an organization. Sometimes new projects pop up, delays happen, people quit, people get fired. That happens all the time in dev. New projects pop up and a client is willing to pay a premium to bring their project to the front of the queue. That happens a lot too, and then something gets pushed back. So this is the real world. We are going to set aside Colorado and come back and finish it in May. And we are going to start today working on 30 days of vanilla JavaScript because here's our calendar. So today's the 19th. Yeah, we're going to start on April 1st. I'm going to stream every day for the month of April, and we're going to use ChatGPT. I'm going to ask ChatGPT for a prompt to help me build my JavaScript skills, because that's the thing that I need the most help with, and I just don't practice enough. So I want a prompt every day for the month of April. We're going to solve that problem, write that code, but it's also going to include a styled UI that we deploy to 30daysofvanillajavascript.com, and then that website will live on as a tool for new developers who would like to do a similar prompt and see how I solved the problem, and maybe they would find a different solution or they would do it differently. But I also think it's really important, since I am a front-end developer, to see whatever that solution is be included in some sort of a UI, something that's interactive that you can interact with. In order to do that, we have to build a website and a set of templates that we can copy every single day in April in order to write that code and deploy that at the end of the session, right? So I would really like to spend the next 2 weeks working on this so we're ready to go on April 1st. Now, Malik asked me a couple of weeks ago, he said, can you do a project where you start the entire process, the design process from the beginning? Because generally I start a project where I've got my layered PSDs, my design, my kind of low fidelity wireframes ready to go. And we just start building with the HTML. I have done this before in the past where I started the design process first, but that was like over a year ago. So if you're new here, which you probably are, you haven't seen me do that. So that's what we're going to do today. So let's open up Affinity Photo 2. This is the tool that I use to do all of my design work. It's very, very similar to, take this down. It's very similar to Photoshop, which is why I picked it, because I was a Photoshop user for years. I've also used Sketch. I've never used Figma. I think Figma is like the new thing. I'm here to tell you it doesn't really matter what you use. They're all kind of the same. They all have an artboard and layers, and the tool doesn't really matter. Everything that you need to do to be a good designer is right up here in your noggin. You need practice. You need to open the tool and you need to just start learning how to do things. Hang on, I closed that dialogue. I shouldn't. So let's just go new. Okay, so to get started with this process, I am going to do a little bit more explaining here for a second. To get started with this process, I'm going to show you how I do it. I cannot design a new website from scratch by just designing a new website. I have to do something called a style guide, and this is something that I learned at an agency that I worked at in San Diego in the very beginning of my career. They used to let the new developers sit in on meetings where they presented deliverables to their clients. And little did they know that I was secretly taking notes so I could quit and go be a freelancer. I only worked at this agency for like 90 days. I learned so much because they gave me that experience of sitting in on those meetings. And one of the things that I learned was that they always start with the deliverable of a style guide. A style guide, a style guide defines basic UI elements. Well, it defines the typography, the headings. If the client already has a brand, like maybe they have a logo and a color palette, you would use their logo and their color palette, and you would define all of the UI assets. If they don't have a logo or a color palette, if it's a brand new brand and you're helping with the branding, obviously you have to show them what your idea for the brand is first, right? You do all of that in a style guide. It's just a way to kind of get like your creative juices flowing. You pick your fonts, you pick your typography, you pick basic styles for how you're going to work on this site. Once you have a style guide defined, it is so much easier to sit down and actually start coming up with modules or components for your website. I am also a uh you can there's two also there's okay, I'm gonna go off on another little tangent here. There's two ways that you can design a website also. You can design a website where you have content ahead of time and you build modules around that content. So that's one way to do it. Another type of website is where you have a template or a design first, which is mostly what we do on this channel, right? Because I'm taking these designs and these modules, and then you write content to fit into that. There's no right or wrong way to do that. Both are perfectly legitimate ways to do it. I tend to lean more towards a content first approach. You don't see me doing that on this channel because the emphasis is on the development, the HTML, the CSS, and the JavaScript. But if you're asking me to build a new website from scratch, I'm almost always going to ask for branding and a color palette and content first approach. So what's our content for 30 days of vanilla JavaScript? Our content is the code itself, the prompt itself, right? So the prompt is going to be like whatever, well, ChatGPT is going to give us our prompt every day. So we need a way to display the text of the prompt, and then we're going to need a code snippet. Like I'll probably use Prism JS to display the code snippet, and then it'll be the UI element itself. So if on the first day the prompt is, I think ChatGPT kind of gave me an idea of what the prompts I was going to get initially, just like make two buttons where you're incrementing and decrementing and you can reset your buttons, something like that. So okay, in our style guide we would probably want to define styles for buttons, styles for typography, define how we want our code snippets to look. So this gives you an idea kind of where the things that we would need to define in a style guide. And then once you have the style guide laid out, then you can really lay out your website. So it's a process that I think works really, really well for just sort of getting your creative juices flowing, because I think it's way too much pressure to open up a design tool and just design a website. It's like, what are you basing that off of? Do you have any branding? Do you have any content? Do you know what the client's images look like? So that's the process that I use. So that's what we're going to do. Okay. So here's Affinity Photo, and I'm sorry, I cannot make these any bigger. I've tried to zoom, I can't. So I will just walk through what it is that I'm doing. I am going to start with, let's see here. And this person is waving. I think that means that you maybe have to go. I understand if you have to go, or if you're just saying hello, hello. Terry Murray is here. Terry is our friend in Toronto, Canada. Welcome. Okay, so I hope all of that made sense. I think it did. Hopefully it did. Let's just go with the 1920 by 1080, which is kind of a traditional 16:9 aspect ratio. I'm going to change the DPI to 300 because I've just learned that the fonts look better with the higher DPIs, dots per inch. And I think that's it. So we're going to start with the style guide here. I kind of have, if we look here, I made this banner, 30 Days of Vanilla JavaScript. This text is called Avenir. I think it's the Avenir condensed, but I don't think that I have, and I do like it. It's a bold, or I don't know if it's the black or the heavy. But I don't have a web font for Avenir, but I do like this. So let's go on Google Fonts and see if we can find like a condensed, and a condensed means that it's kind of like a taller, not like a kind of a skinny font. So let's just look at feeling, appearance. I want a sans serif. This is kind of right here. So you can tell here that this is condensed right here. This Oswald is condensed. Fala, Fajal is the J silent. Fala 1. Carla is not really condensed. This is condensed, but it's all uppercase. League Gothic. I kind of like this. Pathway Gothic. Let's see. I like this. So let's type something in. Where can we type in? Oh, right here. Styles. Okay, type here. 30 days of vanilla JavaScript. So that's what the regular looks like. And what are the, is this the, is this one of the, yeah, this is a variable. So this is, we've used a couple of these before. It's not going to give us a, like a set of sizes. It's a variable font, so we can like do whatever size we want. I'm pretty sure that that's it, but I do like this. So let's use this as our font. So if this is 400, okay, let's just get font and see if it's a variable. You don't need this. So we do need to download it in order to make it available in Affinity Photo. Hang on one second here. But we also need it in our project. I don't, is this a, what am I looking at here? Condensed, semi-condensed, and regular. It is a variable font. Okay, I'm gonna install the regular variable font. We're learning together at the same time. Okay. We're learning together at the same time. But let's look and see here. I'm not used to it. It's a new thing for me, variable fonts. Still kind of wrapping my head around it. So I think if we do full axis, you can also define a width, which I don't think I would. I think I would just use the default. Use a unique and descriptive class name. Okay. Font weight. So yeah, so the weight is 400 and then the width is the variable thing. Is that what I want? I don't think that's what I want. I'm gonna let's keep looking. I'm confused. We're learning together. We're learning together. Okay, I should pay more attention to this. Variable 1 axis. 1 style, variable 2 axes, variable 1 axes, okay. What about Oswald? I like this too. So this has the variable weight, not just a variable width. So maybe we should use this. Yeah, maybe this is a better choice. So let's look at the embed code. Take that out. Something. A variable weight. Or you can choose one value. Let's do this instead. So we'll come back and get this when we actually start building our site. For now, I'm going to go ahead and download this and install it, and then it will be available in Affinity. So it's letting me install a variable, which I did, but it's also letting me install the static. So I'm just going to install all of them. And we'll see how it goes. So now we have our fonts. So that's good. So we're not really going to be writing code today. So if you're interested in, exceptionally beautiful websites, and you have a desire to do UI, let's see here, we can skip. You have a desire to be better at UI design, this is my approach. You're going to need to spend a little time in your design tool of choice, and I recommend that you start with a style guide just to kind of get those creative juices flowing, because I personally, as long as I've been doing this, I do have a lot of good ideas. I have things to draw on from things that at a certain point, after you build enough websites, you just draw on past designs that you've implemented and you find new ways to use them as your own. But I still need to define some basic stuff first. So, okay, so let's start with some guides. And if you're doing client work especially, you should always, your first deliverable should always be a style guide. Whether they have a brand that you're working with or you're doing the branding for them, you should always have a style guide before you are actually building a website. Let me see here, 1920, 1080, which would be 980. Okay. And here's Oswald. I'm going to go with semi-bold, 30 days of vanilla, JavaScript. Okay, what are we doing? I have to think about this for a second. Okay, so we know that we need to make some buttons. Well, let's think of a color palette. So when I made this overlay, I used kind of what I consider to be like an official JavaScript icon, which I'm pretty sure I Googled this and got this from Wikimedia Commons. So if we were going to color pick this, let me see if I can color pick. I think I can color pick from another screen. Hang on here. No, I cannot color pick from another screen. Yeah, that doesn't work. And it won't let me go to... Okay, hang on 1 second. Let me see if I can... let's do this. Java. We need a color palette. JavaScript icon. Let's just grab this yellow right here. Okay. And then let's do the Adobe Color right here. Color, okay, I think we can just put in, I usually do a color, grab this hex code, and close this, color mode. Oh, let's get the RGB. So this is 240, 217, 28. Okay. RGB. Where do we put these colors? Let's see here. Oh, should I just color pick this? Let's do that. Okay, there we go. This is exactly what I would be doing even if you weren't watching. So let's do analogous. Oh, you're not going to let me add a color? Triad. Is this the color that we just put in? Where's this thing where we can do it like a split screen? Chrome is always doing it when I don't want it to do it. New tab to the right, add new tab to split view. Right there. Oh, for God's sakes. Okay. Right there. Why won't you just do it? Okay. Let's, here. There we go. JavaScript icon. Don't know why this has to be so hard. Okay. Right there. There's our color. So I want Adobe to take this color, excuse me, and make a custom color theme for us, but it's not really doing that. I don't want to just make a custom color. Okay, I have to ask for help here. How to make custom color palette with one color hex code. Color wheel a color palette generator. See what it says here. To create a custom color palette from a single hex code using online tools like Adobe Color, Figma, or Supercolor, enter your hex code as the base color and select harmony rules to create shades, tints. Okay, where is the base color? So what's the base color? This? Oh, is this the base color? Okay, this is the base color. Let's see here. Okay, so right here, perfect. This is perfect. Thank you for this hex code. Yeah, I mean, we could definitely use ChatGPT, but that is, I don't always use ChatGPT. Here's what I like to do. I like to suffer through it. We call this a good old-fashioned struggle session because that's where the real learning happens, in my opinion. So, and we're working on a style guide. We're going to make a style guide for a new website called 30 Days of Vanilla JavaScript. Caffeine Cowboy is here. Good morning. So I feel a little less lurker-ish. You can lurk anytime you want, my friend, but I'm also happy to see you in the chat. So thank you for that. No, it's okay. You sent the colors. That's very helpful. I need that because I'm clearly struggling through. So thank you for your help. Everybody, you are free to help me, but this is the base color. So this is what we needed to do. So I'm going to enter the base color here. And Shahanazard graciously put in the chat what it is. So we're going to do F0 DB4E. Look at that. Okay, so there's our base color. Love it. Now, look at this. Okay, we just learned how to do something new. So here are analogous colors. Here's monochromatic. Triad. I like this. This is very CMYK to me, but I like these colors. And here's the thing, the yellow is not going to really be a suitable or like have good color contrast for anything, but it's a starting point using our icon, right? Using our logo. There's complementary colors. I like these too. So, and we're also going to test for color contrast. We're going to do the color contrast checker. And here's why this is important. Sort of, it gets your creative juices flowing, but also decisions will be made for you. So you don't have to decide like, oh, what should my text color be? What should my button color be? Find a color palette first, check to see what has good color contrast for accessibility, and then boom, your decisions are being made for you. It just takes all the pressure off. So here's split complementary. I like these two. I love color. I love good colors. So here's square. And also this is like math, right? When you start with the base color, this is the color wheel doing the math for us to find a color palette. Here's compound. I like these too. Here's shades of yellow. These wouldn't really be suitable. Okay, so here's analogous, monochromatic, Triad. I'm leaning towards Triad. Like I said, this is giving me CMYK vibes. I kind of like this purpley color right here. When I look at this, this looks kind of purpley, and this looks right here kind of like a teal-ish blue. So let's do a little testing for accessibility. Okay, I need to open. The other thing we should do is let me show you how I find open. I make sure that I'm grabbing things that are open source. So Wikimedia Commons, and there's Wikipedia, there's Wikimedia Commons. This is like the image version of things that are open source. So they always have a picture of the day. This is honestly, this is very pretty. I like this. I'm not like a particularly religious type of gal, but I appreciate good religious art. So let's see if we can find a JavaScript logo that we know is open source. Boom. Beautiful. Let's just go with this. I'm sure this is where I got it when I did it the first time. JavaScript logo.png. Let's go to more details. So what is this giving us here? This is giving us a PNG that is 480 by 480. Let's see if we can find a version of this that also has an SVG. So I think this is what I want. The original file is an SVG. Make this a little bigger here. Unofficial JavaScript logo by Chris Williams. Date October 10th, 2011. Permission, MIT license. Permission is hereby granted free of charge to any person obtaining a copy of the software. So we're going to go ahead and use this, and this is going to be our source for where we got this logo. So I'm just going to download. I'm going to bookmark this. So this will, if we need to come back and get the SVG, we can. I guess I'll just download the SVG. We can use the SVG in Affinity Photo. Let me start a new project here because I don't actually think that I did. So let's do 30 days of vanilla JavaScript. So that's where we'll save our SVG. Let me see here. I don't think there's an actual download button. Okay, so it's an SVG. Yeah, I guess the best way to do this is to just do this right here. And I'm going to copy element. And then I'm going to save as projects, 30 days of vanilla JavaScript. And we're just going to call this well, it's not technically XML. We're going to say JS logo.svg. And then let's make sure that this actually works. We have a preview here, so that's good. But to make sure this actually works, let's actually open this in Chrome. And yes, it works. So here is our official logo, and we can use that in Affinity. Okay, so let's grab our logo. I know it seems like I'm fumbling a little bit, and I am. Because I don't do this as often as I should. So here's our logo. It's obviously a lot bigger. Okay, you're gonna let me, there we go. And where do we want to start putting some of these things? I'm gonna take this, put it right there. Put it right there. And then let's see what is accessible. Add tab to new split view. Okay. No. So I feel like this is happening. I don't know how to actually make something be a split view with the other tabs. Add tab to new split view. Oh, choose a tab to add. Okay. All right. And then color contrast checker. No, I want you right here. Stop. Why can't I have you right here? Okay. Right here. Okay. I somehow got this to work. So, here we are. Okay, I just want to check and see what the color contrast is. So this would be, I'm thinking of doing this for the background. So I'm going to copy this. Hopefully you're still with me. This is real life. This is what it looks like to be a real developer. This is the real deal. So if our color was, I usually use 22222. So that does not have enough contrast. So what if it was white? So, okay, so this is good. So if we used this as our background, and I am thinking of using like a dark background with white text as a default. So this would pass for everything except AAA normal text, and I think that that's fine. So let's test this. And same, these also pass. So I'm thinking that we could alternate big color block sections between this sort of greeny color and this kind of purplish color. And those could be our two main colors with white text. What do we think about that? That's a lot different from what I usually do. I have a pretty minimal approach to things where I tend to have like white backgrounds and super clean, just black text, things like that. I guess for the heck of it, let's check and see how these things work. I don't think that this is going to be accessible. Yeah, it's definitely not with white text. What about with black text? There we go. Okay, so this is the same. I don't think I love this combination right here. It looks a little like, it looks a little gross. It looks a little gross. It's not my favorite. I'm not entirely sure. I don't think this is going to work with anything, but I guess I don't know. Okay, interesting. This works with black. This definitely isn't going to work with white. Yeah, that fails. And then what about this? So this almost passes, but that's not I think it's a little hard on the eyes. This works with black. This is not my favorite combination either. So these would need to be accents. I'm honestly just thinking about how I could use this purple, this green, and this yellow. Although the yellow could just be the logo, right? So let's go ahead and kind of add this color palette to Affinity. How do I do that? I don't remember how I do that. I know I've done that before. So if we do, how do you add, I can't remember. I don't remember. I know I've done it before in Affinity Photo. How do you add, okay, let's just Google it. How to add color palette in Affinity Photo 2. Okay, in Affinity Photo 2, you can add a color palette via the swatches panel by creating a new empty palette. Okay. Window. Swatches. Here's our swatches panel. Perfect. Right here. Let's make this a little smaller. And then we'll do this. We'll just make this do like this. Adobe always pops out this window by default, which is annoying. Okay, there we go. There we go. Here's our swatches. So I think we want to do, I want to do a new swatch. Recent. How do you do a new one? Open the swatches panel, click the burger menu, select add palette, then add colors by clicking the add current fill to palette icon. Oh, the hamburger menu, add global registration, add system palette, add, oh yeah, we'll do an add system palette, and we'll call this 30 days of JS, so we know what it is. And then I think we can just do this, right? Here's our color picker. Okay. Okay, there it is. It's working. So we'll get all of our colors in here. Now we can choose from our color picker as we are working on our design. Beautiful. Perfect. So can we switch now? So here's the color palette for my website, because I did, at one point I did this. That got added. Delete. Yep. Yeah, I want to delete that. So there we go. Here's the colors for my personal website, because I have done this before. Here's 30 days of JavaScript. We did it. See? Googling, I don't want to use ChatGPT for everything. I'm here to tell you that sometimes a good struggle session is completely worth it. Completely worth it. Okay, we'll open this back up again. And Kiri is here. Hello. Welcome. Thank you. Saeed is here. Hello. Welcome. Thank you for coming. And yeah, there is a little bit of a delay. I think it's 20 or 30 seconds, and that's just the normal YouTube delay. I don't add a delay to anything. Plus, sometimes I don't always respond to the chat as quickly, so my apologies for that. It's just kind of how I roll a little bit. So, okay, I want to make the background. We're gonna do 2 sections. And then I'm gonna put this down here. We're gonna change the fill, and we'll pull up our swatches, which is right here. Oh, beautiful. And then I'm gonna take this, we'll change the fill. We want this to be, I'm gonna go back to color. I'm just gonna put in white. Kind of just need to see what looks good. Make this a little bit bigger. "30 Days of Vanilla JavaScript." Let's add another section down here. So I'm going to call this, just going to call this purple. I'm going to move this down here. Swatches. I'm going to make this our green color. I like this green a lot better so far. So let's put this in a group. 30 Days of JS. I'm gonna make a copy of this. Put this down here. You can see how they each look. So I definitely prefer the white text over top of this green background. I wonder how the contrast would work using these 2 colors. So if we had this green background, just like that, and probably isn't going to be accessible at all. So let's say that this was the foreground color. Yeah, that completely fails. So which of these colors is going to work as a good color contrast against the green? Well, would yellow buttons work? They pass, but does it look good? So I wouldn't do yellow text, but we could do graphical objects and user interface components. Those are buttons. What about this? Or we can just do white. That passes for objects. What about the pink? I mean, I kind of like this. So let's make a button with this color and see how it looks. Yeah, I don't know. Should we try this? Fail. Okay, so we know that these 3 colors work as a UI object against the screen color. Or we could just do white. We don't have to. We don't have to do this color. Maybe this yellow is all the yellow that we need as the logo. Can I be honest with you and tell you that this isn't maybe what I wasn't envisioning? Let me think about this for a second. And Malik is off to his meeting. Enjoy your meeting. Okay. I think that I want to play with this palette a little bit. I think I was envisioning something a little brighter. This is feeling a little dark, a little dreary to me. So what if if this is our base color right here, and I'm just sort of dragging around looking for something, maybe in the blue-ish family, because I like cool tones. Trying to find like a navy. Let's try this. Navy or dark blue hex codes. Color hex codes. Make this a little bigger. HTML color codes. Let's do this. Ooh, look at this. Hold please, one moment. Okay, we're on to something here. First of all, yellow and blue and yellow and green always go well together. So this was not a bad exercise at all to put in the yellow and look for complementary colors. It's just not what I envisioned. So this is plan B, and I do this all the time. So two things stand out to me. This navy dark blue palette, but this teal turquoise palette. Oh boy, look at these. I love these colors. Love. I love these colors. Yeah, this could be, I love these. So let's test these for color contrast. Can I add a tab over here? How do I add a tab over here? Can I, what's this? Close the left view, close the right view, separate views. Okay. Let's do this again. So we want the color contrast checker, and we're going to test the teals. Add a new tab to the split view. Navy. Right here. Oh, okay, we're learning. We're doing it. We're figuring it out. So let's do these instead. Let's test. None of these are going to work with black text. We already know that. That's okay. So let's just see. Oh, that's interesting. Obviously that works. That's pretty dark. What if that was our dark text and this was our light background? Yeah, that doesn't really work. That's okay. That's why we test. But boy, I like this. I like all of these teals. So what if we did something that was like a super light gray, so we don't have that harsh white? Almost passes. So we know that this super light teal, not quite passing. Let's go the next shade up. And this is pretty darn good right here. Pretty much the same result. And that passes for everything. Okay. So I'm going to take these three, or excuse me, these four. So if we had, how would this lighter teal work as a graphical element on that darker one if we did this? Okay, so they fail. And if this was, I feel like this is too dark. I think we already did this. It does pass as a UI element though. Honestly, I think it's better to just go with white. So here's what I want to do. I want to use this, this, and this, these three teal. So the three center teal. So we're going to have a dark teal, a teal, and a light teal. And that's going to be our color palette. And I think all of these are going to work with white text. Let's make sure. Yes, all of these are going to work with white text. What if I wanted to just do that? Exactly the same. And then we could have different shades of teal as different sections. Hopefully you can see why this is important, why this is a good exercise. This is gorgeous, the middle teal. This is exactly what I was envisioning. I mean, I was envisioning something that was maybe a little more blue, but definitely cool toned. I really, really like cool tones. So, okay. We love this. So we're gonna make a new swatch. Hang on, we're gonna make a new swatch. We need the swatches. We just learned how to do this, so we can do this again. There we go. Here's our swatches. So I'm actually going to delete. I'm going to delete this palette. And I'm going to make a new palette. I'm going to make a system palette. And I'm going to give it the same name, 30 Days of JS. Okay, I deleted the other one, but fine. Vanilla. Fine. Okay. And then we will color pick. I'm just going to color pick the ones that I want. And then I'm going to add this light gray color. So there's our color palette, light gray, and then the 3 shades of teal. That right up there. Okay. Now let's change this to, well, let's just do our regular teal color. I like it so much better. And then this would be the light teal. I love it. I love it. And I think this yellow goes good with anything cool toned, any cool toned blue or green, I think. That's my personal opinion. Okay, so let's put in some text now. We've already decided that we like our Oswald, right? I'm just going to pull this back up. We've already decided we like our Oswald. So let's just pick one of these. I don't think we need both of these for the style guide, so I'm going to turn this off. Let's go ahead and make this bigger. And we can make our canvas our document a little bit bigger too. So we'll go to Document, resize the canvas. I'm going to turn off aspect ratio. And let's just make this like 2500. And we'll put the anchor at the top so it builds it downwards. There we go. And we can take this and extend it all the way down. And we'll move this down to 2400. Right there. So we've got some guides. Now let's add some text. Let's see here. Frame text tool. So we'll just do this. We need some lorem ipsum. So I'm going to open a new page and we'll do HTML. Make this a little bit bigger for you. And we'll say lorem. Well, it's pretty big. Lorem 50. All right, there's some lorem ipsum. And I'll change this to Oswald. And this is just going to be regular. And then we'll change the text to our gray color because we have a color palette. Nice. And then what size is this? This is 50 pixels. And then this resizes nicely inside the container. And so if this page is 1920, that's pretty big. So it's like 1920 wide. Right now this is 50 pixels. And we know that 16 pixels is 1 rem. That's pretty small for the purposes of a style guide. So maybe 16, 32, like that. And then I like to make sure that the line height is always 1.65. That's what I generally do. It's not considered line height though. Let's see here, typography, transform, paragraph. It's something different in a design tool. So it's usually going to be called something like, I think kerning is the space in between. It's like, it would be letter spacing in CSS. Leading is like line height, the CSS equivalent or the document design equivalent of line height. And that is usually, where do I set that? Character, typography. Oh, come on, you're usually right here. Character right here. So it's set to 32 pixels by default because the font size is 32 pixels. So that would be the equivalent of line height 1. This is why line height is a multiple and it's a unitless value. The browser will accept units, but it's meant to be a unitless value. So if our font size is 32 and I normally set a line height to 1.65, that would be 32 times 1.65, which is the equivalent of 52.8. So I'm going to change this to 52.8. And now this is the equivalent. I'll move these out of the way. And this is the character panel. So we'll get this over here. So now this is the equivalent of a line height of 1.65 for 32 pixels, which would be 2 rems. Obviously, paragraph text wouldn't actually be 2 rems, but this is a style guide. It's still good to keep it proportional, though. Hopefully that makes sense. So here's what our text would look like. And we probably wouldn't normally have it stretch all the way across. Well, let's make sure that we're actually... So normally I would do 1200 pixels wide. And if this is 1920, let's put in the correct guides. We might as well, right? So 1920 minus 1200 is 720. Divided by 2 is 360. So let's get our guides into the correct place. So we want this to be at 360. Oops. I don't know why I can never. There we go. I know it. And then 1920 minus 360 is 1560. There we go. Get rid of that. Then we can move this right into the center. Then we can just make this as wide as the screen. I kind of like that. And then here's our text. I'm going to put it right here underneath. So here's what our text would look like. Okay, this is the making of a style guide. So what do we think, first of all, about the yellow against the teal? I personally love it. And then this is not a pure white. It's a very light gray, but this is pure white. So let's change this color and just make it, there we go. It's very subtle, but in my opinion, it helps. It's just a little easier on the eyes, just a little easier on the eyes. So this is the start of a style guide. I'm loving it. Rayhan is here. Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Rayhan says, I was busy with semester exams, projects and stuff. Couldn't watch live for the past week. Well, you're in luck because I did not have internet for the past week. So I wasn't streaming. In fact, we were very rudely interrupted exactly a week ago today when my internet went out. And it was just a whole big thing to get it reconnected again. By the way, there was like a legitimate problem in my building. There are several hundred units in this building. And the tech, I finally got a tech out here, Tuesday this week to work on it. It took him like a couple hours to get me hooked back up again. So, good timing, I guess. And I hope you did well on your exams. Good luck. I'm sure you did well. Of course you did. Why wouldn't you? So, okay, this is the beginning of a style guide. Let's make a couple of buttons now. I tend to be a little bit of a one-trick pony when it comes to buttons. That's okay. So let's just make a button. So here's a square. And I'm going to make this, white. Actually, I'm going to give this no color, and then we'll give this a stroke instead of our gray. And then we'll make that 2 pixels. We'll have to resize that a little bit. And, keep in mind that for the purposes of the style guide, things are going to be roughly double in size. So staying with our 32 pixels of font size, we'll do this. Artistic text tool, we're not going to frame it in, so we're just going to put in the text here, and we'll just say button, and then we'll change this to 32 pixels. And this is pretty big, so we'll adjust this a little bit. And then we'll make sure that this is centered. Okay, and then we'll group this, and I'm going to call this hollow button. And then let's make sure that the text is not semi-bold. We want it to be regular. And then I usually like to make my buttons. There's our character panel here. I'm going to make this uppercase. Is this not the uppercase? To highlight it. Uppercase. This is our letter spacing right here. So this would be like the kerning. And it gives us a percentage. So I guess to mimic a 1 pixel letter spacing, which is what I usually do, I'm just going to, I don't know, I'm just going to go. So if that's 0, we'll go 50%. It's going to be approximate. I don't know what the equivalent is. And then let's go ahead and recenter this. Okay, so that's what a button would look like. And then we'll make a couple of copies of these so we can make like a variation. So here's another button. And then here is another button. So maybe this button would be solid. Which means that the background would have a fill. So the background would be white. And there would still be a stroke, because you would want to have a stroke if that was like a hover. But we would want the text to be, to make sure it's highlighted, we would want the text to be I'm going to go with the dark teal for the text. And then what would this one be? I mean, I don't know. This would probably be our two choices, right? You either have one that's hollow or solid, because didn't we say, I don't think the shades are going to work in terms of contrast. So these are our buttons. Okay, so we have buttons now. We have a heading. We know the yellow looks good against the teal. Here's our text. Here's our buttons. What else? Well, we know that with Prism, JavaScript, so if you weren't here for the responsive video gallery project, I used some JavaScript for syntax highlighting for code snippets called Prism.js. And it's an old JavaScript library. It really handles syntax highlighting for code snippets very, very well. So this is one of the few libraries that you're going to see me use consistently anytime I want to have a web page with good code snippets. We could just style pre or code elements, code blocks, but you don't get the syntax highlighting. And I really like the syntax highlighting using Prism.js. This is their default styles, which I like. And I kind of like the contrast. I think I would like the contrast of their default styles against a dark background. What do we think? We did a toggle for night dark mode. That's the word I'm trying to think of. And I do like this against a dark background. Caffeine Cowboy says, I know you've said that you haven't used Figma before, but I'd recommend watching a video on Figma components. It'll be a life changer during the style guide creation and beginning design work. Okay, well, that's good advice. I could definitely do that. So are you saying that Figma has built-in components? Oh, one moment. Hold, please. So I think what you're saying is that Figma has built-in components, is how I'm reading this, which could speed up the workflow. And that's completely fair. You can find them in the Figma community or build your own. Yeah, I don't doubt that there are easier ways to do this. Um, I don't doubt that at all. I'll definitely take your advice and learn how to do that. Um, as painful as what I'm doing might look, it is an important part of my design process. It's also how I learn. And it helps me um it just helps it helps get my creative juices flowing. So even though this might look kind of painful to other people, or it might not look efficient or a good use of time, for me it is a good use of time because it really does help me figure out what my next move is in terms of design. So this for me is an important part of the process, but um I'll do it. I'll learn Figma. If more people, especially if more people tell me to do it, I'll definitely do it. Um, yeah. Does that make sense? Does that make sense why I do it this way? I hope it makes sense. Um, I like building the components myself a little bit. So this is basically how you start to build the components. Got it. So I'll do it. I'll learn to do it. So I don't know. I don't like to be one of those people that is doesn't want to learn new things, but I'm also sometimes one of those people that doesn't always want to learn new things. So I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Okay, so what's the next part? Okay, so we're gonna do something like this. So I'm actually just going to copy some JavaScript. I'm going to copy this, take a screenshot of this JavaScript. And here's how I'm going to do it. In the browser, I'm going to find this wrap right here. And then we've got this pre-section right here. And then I'm going to click on these three little dots and I'm going to capture a node screenshot. And then I'm going to save this into our project. Because I just want to make sure that it looks the way I want it to inside the style guide. Go to projects, 30 days of vanilla JavaScript. So it saved the whole thing, including this. I must have had, that's okay. We'll just put part of it in here and we'll mask the rest. So we'll do this. And then I'm going to put a mask over top of this. So I'm just going to draw this I'll just do like this. And then we right click and I'm going to say mask to below, just like that. So now these are grouped together as a mask, and I can resize this just like this. This is a little wide. So how wide is this? This is 832. So let's make this 832. Just about like that. Why does it do that? Every time I let go, it like wiggles a little bit. So there's 830, there's 832. Do you see how it wiggles like that? I don't like that. I don't know why it does that. But I just want this to be now in the middle of the document. So I'm going to center it against my teal background. There we go. So our code snippets would basically look like this. They'd be centered like that. And I think that's fine. We could make this wider. I mean, we could make this wide enough to fit. Why didn't I do that here? I don't know. Probably because I didn't want the text to stretch across 1200 pixels. I'm guessing that's why I did that here. So, you know what that means is we could double our text size to make sure that it's always 2 rems. If the text is bigger, it can stretch across a wider area of 1200 pixels. So that's not a bad idea. So what other UI components would we have? I mean, this is our basic button style. Okay, so let's just kind of jump into what we actually want the home page to look like. The navigation I've kind of already decided is going to be 3 columns of 10 days. So it's going to be column 1, days 1 through 10, column 2, days 11 through 19, and column 3, day, so 1 to 10, 11 to 20, 21 to 30. That's essentially going to be our navigation, and then we'll build an off-canvas navigation where it's just a list of 30 days, and then you click into each page. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so we have room here. Let's build some columns up on top. Let's make this is going to kind of be like a style guide / mock-up is what this is turning into. So let's resize our canvas again. I want to make it a little longer. Take out the aspect ratio. Let's change this to 3000. Pull this down. We'll pull this down to 2900. I hate that little wiggle when I let go. It's so annoying. Okay, I'm going to pull this down here. So here's what our code snippet would look like. Here's our logo. Wait, what is this? I'm going to delete that. That was our alternate logo. Here's our 30 days of JavaScript. I'm going to keep that up at the top. Here's our text right here. Here's our buttons. I don't know what every UI component's going to be yet because I don't know what every prompt is going to be. Let's take our text and our buttons, and we'll just move these down to like right there. And then let's build our 3 columns of text, of our, technically our navigation. Oh, this is working. This is, see, this is why I love this part of the process, the style guide, because things just start to click. Once you pick a style, like a color palette and fonts, and you know what's accessible, what works, and you kind of already have maybe that little bit of a vision to begin with, things start to click into place. Things start to click into place. Okay, this is good. So let's start with a column, and this is going to be like our navigation. So I'm just going to start with a column right here. And so we'll say what are we going to do? Day 1. Yeah, what did I want these to say? I don't know. So it would be day 1. Are we actually going to say what the thing is? Day 1. Or do we just want it to be day 1, day 2, day 3? I think it should give a hint of what it is. Otherwise, how do you know what it is that you're clicking into to look at? So let's say that day 1 is a button counter. And then day 2, and we'll have to change the leading. Day 2 is, I don't know, a slider. I have no idea what these are going to be yet. Day 3, something. Day 4, something else. Day 5. So do we want it to be a number, or should it be like this? Especially if English isn't your first language, are numbers better? Another thing. Okay, and then I'm going to go back to auto, which is 32. So this would be the equivalent of a line height of 1. And that's a good amount of spacing, I think. So that's about 800 pixels tall. And then let's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. And then we'll copy. And I am going to update these because I want to make sure that these look and we'll copy this again. Okay, go back here. All right, and then let's distribute these evenly. So we go to alignment, and we're going to distribute just like that. And we'll make sure that everything is also top aligned, which it is. And then I'll group these, and this is going to be the navigation. And I'm sure we'll do something like CSS columns to build this. So here's our navigation. And if we wanted to distribute these, I kind of want to put the text and the buttons in a group. So we'll say components. And then we can kind of distribute these evenly. There we go. Yeah, this is looking how I kind of envisioned it to look. So let's say that you land on the site. This would be our logo up at the top, and let's make sure that this logo, these are aligned correctly. Yep, it is. Okay. So I want to make my document bigger again. Resize canvas. Let's just do 4,000. I'll make this. And then here's our components. Actually, I don't want all of this grouped. Ungroup. I think I can just do this. Oh. There we go. Okay. And then this would be our navigation. I feel like if this is our main logo that's going to appear on every page, I don't feel like we need a dedicated home page. I feel like the home page is just going to be day one. So we would want like a "You Are Here" navigation. So in our first item right here, we could just put in draw a line. Here's our pen tool. And then I'm holding down the Shift key to make sure that this is a straight line right there. So here, and it's just called a curve. So I'm going to put it right below. And yeah, good enough. I'll make this up a little, put this up a little further. So this would be like "You Are Here" navigation, right? Perfect. So you would land on the home page or whatever page you're on, but if you land on the home page, you're seeing the day one of the project. And then you could click into any of these other days and it would essentially look the same. It would have the prompt. It would have whatever the UI element is that's the finished product, and then it would have the JavaScript itself as the code immediately beneath it. And then we would want, what do we want the H1 of the page to be? We don't want the H1 to be the same for every page. What do we want the H1 of the page to be? Do we want the H1 to be 30 days of vanilla JavaScript, day one button counter? So maybe that means that Maybe that means because we're also going to want some social media icons, right? We're going to want, I want a link to the GitHub repository, a link to what else? Maybe my LinkedIn, a link to Instagram, a link to the YouTube channel, because there's videos for every single thing, right? So maybe that means that the H1 for the page will be like this. 30 days of vanilla JavaScript. Day 1 button counter. So maybe this is the H1 for the page, just like that. And then we've got the logo in the upper left-hand corner, and we've got some social media icons. And we can get a little guidance also from ChatGPT on our SEO strategy for how to make, if we're not going to have a dedicated homepage, if the homepage is just going to be day 1, but also how does that work as the root of the project? If the URLs are going to be like day 2, day 3, day 4, and day 1 is the home page, we're going to have to get some guidance from ChatGPT on that. We'll do that Saturday. I want to keep going with this because I think that this is going to work. But we're going to have to ask ChatGPT for some guidance on the SEO strategy if the home page is going to be day 1. But I feel like we can make this work. So let's get some social media icons up here and keep going. But do we feel like this is coming together? Oops. Let's do this. There we go. I feel like this is coming together. Let's bring this up a little bit. There's our navigation. So let's just make sure these are sort of evenly distributed. There we go. And let's see here. Yeah, I mean, I feel like you don't necessarily need to know how old I am. And I think that you answered your own question here in the chat by saying it's not exactly appropriate to ask that question. But thank you for subscribing. Thank you for engaging in the chat. And Julian Velez says, hello, welcome. Thank you for coming to hang out with us. Happy to have you. Do me a favor, if you haven't yet, go ahead and subscribe. Like and subscribe helps the YouTube algorithm, helps push this type of content out to more people who might be interested in it. If you're interested, I am over on Instagram. My handle is just Angela J. Holden. You're always welcome to DM me there if you have questions about anything I'm doing on the channel. And of course, we're working on a project for something that I'm calling 30 Days of JavaScript, which is going to start April 1st. I'm going to stream every day for 30 days and in an effort to get better at my own JavaScript skills, which I say every year that I'm going to practice more, and I never do. So in April, we're going to practice. I'm going to stream every day. I'm going to ask ChatGPT for a prompt. We're going to build the UI and we're going to deploy it to an actual website called 30daysofvanillajavascript.com. And that's what we're building now is we're going to build this website, build the templates. We're going to deploy this website so it's ready to go. So every day we just make a copy of the template, we work on the task, and then at the end of the task, once we have the UI to go along with the JavaScript that we wrote, we're going to deploy it to a website, and then this website will live on, right? This would maybe hopefully be a resource for people in the future if you're like, well, how do I practice JavaScript? These could be maybe some prompts that you could look at. So that's the idea for all of this. So, but this is coming together. I'm happy with this. I'm liking this. And then what if we wanted to, we haven't used any of our other teal colors yet, right? So let's see here if we could make some of that work. Let's see if we can get some of our other teal colors in here. So maybe for our header, right now we have this guide. Let's try something. See if we can work it in. Let's use our darker teal color. And then let's put this up here. And this, we need to take out the stroke. And then what would our social media icons be? We'll put some social media icons over here, and I'm not going to go and grab all those icons. Let's just make some, well, I'll grab one icon. We'll grab one icon. Okay, let's just get our icons. No, this is not what I wanted. I want ionicons. I really want to keep going here today. We're coming up on the 2-hour mark, but I have to tell you, I'm kind of enjoying this, so I'm going to keep going. And yeah, hopefully you can stay and hang out with me here for a little while. I got nothing else going on, and I just missed a week of work, so I'm going to keep going. SVGs. There's Instagram. GitHub. And we'll do my least favorite, LinkedIn. And what else? YouTube. So that's 4. So we've got GitHub, Instagram, LinkedIn. And I might put an X icon in there too. I mean, why not? But Ionicons doesn't have an X icon. I don't know why. I have a theory that they just don't like Elon Musk. So, but who knows? I don't know. You're gonna let me put all of these in at one time? Yes, you are. Okay. These are all way too big. That's fine. We're going to resize them. Oh, this is interesting. So Codex says ChatGPT suggested your channel when I was searching for a complete build a website from scratch video that shows everything in detail. Well, you came to the right place because that's exactly what I do here. I had already gone through so many videos and was honestly exhausted. Then I asked ChatGPT and found your channel. Well, I will have to thank ChatGPT for that. And thank you for telling me that. Yeah, I basically take all of that's exactly what I do here. So if you're like, well, what the heck is this crazy woman doing right now? I don't spend a ton of time on this channel using design tools, but it was kind of a request that somebody asked me to do a design from the very beginning. So you caught us literally on day 0. But this happened a long time ago, almost 6 months ago. Fair. But what I normally do here is I grab mockups from my own collection, so I don't spend a ton of time on the design process, and we just build out from beginning to end HTML, CSS, JavaScript. I'm basically a vanilla channel because that's just how I enjoy practicing. And then the last few months I've decided to add like DevOps content deployment. So we do an entire stream where we deploy to a LampStack server. And then I take those videos, those live streams, and I edit them down into like a focused build where you see me in like 8, 9, 10. Some videos are like 12 hours long where I just talk through the process from beginning to end. That's exactly what I do here. That was the type of content. I couldn't find a lot of that content when I was starting. I started learning in 2009, 2010. I couldn't find a lot of that content. The only person I found doing that was Chris Coyer from CSS Tricks. And that was ultimately how I learned how to build websites, was from watching him think out loud and go through that start to finish process. And so that's the type of content that I make. It was what helped me, and especially in project-based learning. So, oh, one moment. Excuse me. Hold, please. Pardon me and my allergies. So that type of learning really helped me, project-based learning, just watching someone go from beginning to end like that. So that's the exact type of content that I make. So yeah, thank you for telling me that. I mean, I think that's so cool that ChatGPT suggested me. And I think that um, there aren't a lot of people doing it, right? So I think it's kind of cool that in Dev YouTube, which is a place that I consider to be kind of saturated, right? How big should we make these? We'll make these about 48 by 48. Well, we'll make these about 40. Here, we'll go with, well, let's go with about, why when I let go does it wiggle to be bigger or smaller? Why can't I just let go and have it be the size? There we go. Okay. And then this I think will kind of resize. Do you see when I start to let go, it wiggles to a different size. That's so annoying. Okay, there we go. Well, anyways, thank you for telling me that. I'll have to thank ChatGPT for recommending me. Oh, what was I saying? I was saying about Dev YouTube, which I consider to be kind of a place that's a little bit saturated with content right now. I think it's kind of cool to have found a place on Dev YouTube where I found something to do that not a lot of people are doing. So there's that. Okay, now let's make these white. So I'm just going to click and we're going to go, well, actually, we're going to do this little FX button right here. Make myself bigger. And we're going to do not outline, outer shadow, color overlay right here. Hang on, why aren't you letting me do a color overlay? Close. Right here. Color. Color overlay. I'm going to do our super light gray color. Just like that. Color overlay. I'm honestly having so much fun with this, and it's what I hoped would happen is happening. That I had a very, very rough idea of how I wanted this to look. Basically, all I knew is what I wanted the navigation to look like. That is all that I knew, is that I was going to have 3 columns with each of the days. And I roughly knew that I was also going to have a Prism JS text area for code blocks. Beyond that, I didn't know. I knew that I wanted to have a cool tone background. I kind of thought it would be blue, but I'm obviously delighted to have found the teal. I really, really like it. And beyond that, I had no plan. None whatsoever. So to spend a couple of hours and just accepting the fact that I had a rough idea, I'm delighted with what I'm coming up with here. So, okay, so now we have a header with some social media icons. So I'm going to just call these social icons. And I'm going to group actually all of these things together, and we'll just call them the header. And then I'm going to move this up a little bit. This up a little bit. Yeah, I don't know what the components are going to be yet because I haven't really done anything yet. So what if, let's add in a darker background. So what if our component, our finished component, and whatever the prompt is, what if that was contrasted with another background? So here's our dark teal. The main body is going to be teal. And then what if this component was the lighter teal? Let's see. So this needs to be back there. So do we like the lighter teal? I can smooth this out a little. It's imprecise. We'll figure all this stuff out with the CSS once we get to it. I know that a real UI designer would be horrified by that, but this is, to me, just about getting a rough outline in place. I don't know if I like the light. I think I like kind of the dark. Yeah. Maybe our footer could be the light. So what would a good footer look like for a site like this? Oh, wait a second. Where is this? Okay, hang on. I'm going to delete that. Ah, right here. Okay. Pull this down. Call this the footer. So here's our H1. Here's our navigation. Here's our components. Really, this dark background goes with our components, right? So I'm going to group these and rename this components. So that includes now our background. Then this is our H1 and our navigation. So I'm going to group these, and we'll call this heading /nav. And then this is our code block. And this sits against the background, which is just the body. And then we have the footer. Okay, and then what would our footer look like? I mean, how much information do we even need in our footer? Probably not a ton. So I'm going to do the frame tool text so I can draw this. And then I'm going to say copyright. And then what's the copyright symbol? I don't remember. So I'm just going to do C. 2026. Angela J. Holden. And that would be linked. So maybe we would just do something like that. And that's 32 pixels. And footer's probably a little, doesn't need to be this big. So there's the center. Maybe just like that. I'm going to move this up here. And I think we can move this up. So what is that? 3423. Let's do 3435. We can adjust the size of the canvas. Resize canvas. 3435. And the anchor is the top, so it'll pull it up. There we go. Do we want to work in our lighter teal somehow? Like that, maybe. We could try it. We could also do some gradients, right? We could also do some gradients. I don't have the energy to do gradients right now, but that's something that's easier for me to do in the browser. And also, we don't have to do this. We don't have to do that. We can just, we could do a dark header and a dark footer and just leave everything else like that. I kind of like this. I'm going to move this down. Whoops. I'm going to move this down a little bit. I'm going to move this down a little bit. Let's evenly distribute these. There we go. All right, so I like it. I'm going to move this up a tiny little bit. And Codex says, your content helps me a lot. Well, that's good. I hope it, my goal is that it encourages people to practice. I mean, I'm obviously trying to make educational content, but what I really want is for people to practice, because that is the best way to learn, in my humble opinion. I'm going to take this out. I'm going to say that we don't need this group. I can just delete that. Okay, I like this. I like this. So I want to ask ChatGPT Um, so let's actually show this picture to ChatGPT. Let's start that conversation. I've had other conversations with ChatGPT about this project, but I'm going to start a fresh conversation with them, and then we're going to use that conversation all throughout April. I think that that's a good approach, but let's ask the SEO question, show ChatGPT what our mockup looks like, and we'll go from there. So let's save this. I love this. I'm so happy that I decided to do this today. So this is the 30 days JS mockup. And then let's save. We will export we'll just export a JPEG, or we'll export a PNG. Yeah, it's not a very big file size. So we'll export a PNG and projects. Beautiful. Okay, let's start a new conversation with ChatGPT. And by the way, if you see me not using ChatGPT and you're like, why isn't this woman using ChatGPT? I love ChatGPT. It's an awesome tool. Some things I want to figure out myself, and some things I will ask help for. So to me, this is the perfect use of ChatGPT. Show it a mockup and ask some good questions about structure. So first, I'm going to tell ChatGPT that I'm streaming right now, and it should not say anything. It should govern itself accordingly in what it prints on the screen in a live stream. I'm streaming right now, so please govern yourself accordingly. This is my mockup for the 30 days of vanilla JavaScript project. If the home page is day 1, I'm thinking the H1 of each page is the site title and the day. But what is the URL of the home page if the home page is day 1? Short answer. Your home page should just be the root, and day 1 lives here. So the URL structure is going to be the root, and then we start with day 2, day 3. Why this works and doesn't get weird. You're not actually making day 1 a page pretending to be a home page. You're making it both. Conceptually, it's day 1. Structurally, the root entry point of the project. That's totally normal. Think blogs, homepage equals latest post. Courses, homepage equals the first lesson. Docs, homepage equals the intro page. Same idea. One moment, please. I have a runny nose. My allergies are really bad right now. 1 second. And Codex just gave me a helpful trick. Use this trick to avoid wiggling on release. Resize using the left mouse click. Before releasing it, press the right mouse click. So I'm actually using my trackpad. So I think the left would be 1 finger, the right would be 2 fingers. So I feel like that means that I would have to press down with both fingers before I release. We'll try that. Let's see what ChatGPT has to say, and then we'll try that trick. We'll put that to the test. That would be an awesome thing to figure out, because it's my number one complaint about Affinity Photo is that when I release something, it wiggles and it changes the size. So, okay. So your H1 idea, this is solid. Your instinct is right. The H1 is the site title plus the day. So example, 30 days of vanilla JavaScript, day 1 button counter. Then day 2, 30 days of vanilla JavaScript, day 2 slider. That keeps the SEO consistent, the context clear, and no weird home page versus page split. One thing I would push you on, don't make day 1 a separate page and have the root be the same thing. Pick one. Option A, the cleanest, what I recommend. I'm totally on board with this. So the root is going to be day 1. Yeah, but yeah, no, we're totally going to do that. If ChatGPT says that that's a good structure and a good way to do it, then I'm absolutely going to do it. Navigation UX detail. This matters more than the URLs. In your grid, day 1 should be clickable, but visually indicate current page. Example, underline, you already have it, or add current for accessibility. Yeah, so we're already doing that. That's like you are here navigation. Okay, perfect. This will be the chat for the project moving forward. I don't need them now, but I will be asking for the JavaScript prompts when the project starts. Yeah. So we're definitely going to use ChatGPT to help us with this, and this will be our place where we're going to do that. So, okay. Yeah, this is a great starting point. This is exactly, I did not think I was going to get this far today. I think that I thought today was just going to be a style guide. But I'm glad that I got this far. And honestly, once we're in the browser and we're actually starting to build this, when I'm doing CSS, that is where I feel the most creative and the most, I don't know, that's just where I feel like my most creative energy. So let's test this tip. Let's see here. If we're gonna resize something, let's test this. Our header, here's our social icons. So we'll practice with this. So one finger is the equivalent of the left click. So if I'm, yeah, that kind of works. So basically I have to press down both fingers at the same time and then release. Actually, that does kind of work. That does work. Yeah, that works. That's a good tip. Okay, let's get these. We'll evenly distribute these. We'll make sure that they are centered. There. Okay. So here's what this means. This means that tomorrow we are going to start with the HTML. This is my process. I always do all of the HTML first, then I start working on styling. We didn't build a mobile view for this. I did that on purpose because I already, the mobile view is, how do I put this? We're going to do an off canvas drawer for our navigation. And the navigation is going to be a big long list, but we'll make sure that it's got like an overflow scroll so you can easily get to all of the days, right? Um, yeah, I love it. It's super simple. So we're basically going to build out day one as a template. And then every day when we come back in April, we're going to make a copy of the template. We're going to link it in the navigation. We're going to work on it as a UI element. We'll sort out the details tomorrow about the folder structure because I feel like there's going to be one CSS style sheet for the whole thing. And then I feel like every day is going to have its own JavaScript file. You know what I mean? Every day is going to have its own JavaScript file because I don't want 30 days of JavaScript prompts to sit in one file. So we're going to start building the HTML tomorrow, and we're going to work out the details for like the structure of the template because I want every day to take that template to make a copy for whatever day we're on, and then we have a clean place to work to build out our UI. I don't know what all the UI elements are, so I don't know what to style necessarily. Maybe we can ask that question to ChatGPT tomorrow. I mean, should we maybe ask ChatGPT for the first 10 days worth of prompts so we have an idea of what we should be styling? Because this isn't going to take that long to style. And I basically set aside from now until April 1st. So if we're going to deploy, let's say that we QA and deploy on the 31st, we would want to have this built for the most part by the 29th, right? So we could do our deployment on the 31st, and then on April 1st, we just get started with our first prompt. It would be nice to make sure that we had some things styled ahead of time so we can just focus on our JavaScript and not have to worry about a ton of styling, right? So let's ask ChatGPT some questions tomorrow once we sort of start to figure out what our folder structure is going to be to make it as easy as possible. Because at the end of every day in April, I want to immediately, whatever we built that day, get that deployed at the end of the day. I don't want all of these days, all of these tasks or prompts to be saved up till the last day, right? Do we want to put something in here like the dates that we're doing this, like April 1st through 30th, or does that maybe seems kind of pointless, right? Because if somebody comes across this, if somebody's Googling like how to practice JavaScript and they land on this site, does that matter, right? Or is it more about 30 days of prompts? So maybe in the footer, we include some language about the origin of the project, right? Maybe we do that. Yeah. Maybe in the footer, I include a little something about myself and the origin of the project. Let's do that. Let's do that tomorrow. Yeah, I like it. Okay. Cool. This is going to be super fun. Everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate it. Do me a favor. If you haven't yet, would you be so kind as to like the video and subscribe if you're not already? Helps the algorithm, helps push this out to more people who might be interested in this type of content. If you want to come and find me over on Instagram, my handle is Angela J. Holden. I don't post a lot, but I post occasionally. And if you have questions, you're welcome to DM me there. And then, of course, this is all for our project in April called 30 Days of Vanilla JavaScript, where every day we're going to take a prompt. We're going to work on our JavaScript skills. Well, I'm going to work on my JavaScript skills. We're going to build it out. We're going to deploy it to this website that we're going to build between now and April 1st. And I'm going to be here every single day in April, streaming, even on Easter. even on Easter. So, because I think practice, you had to put in the reps, right? You have to practice. That's how you get good at it, is you practice it. And I need to start taking my own advice and practicing more. So there's that. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate all of you. We had super good engagement in the chat. Thank you, Christian Codes and Malik Robinson. They were our mods in the chat today. All these are already done. Like and subscribe. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Codex. Thank you for reporting back to me on your progress with liking and subscribing. I appreciate that. So everybody, have a great rest of your day wherever you are. What's today? Thursday. I'll be back on Saturday. I think Saturday and Sunday we're definitely going to be writing some HTML and some CSS. We're going to ask ChatGPT some more questions about structure. We're going to get our folder structure figured out. Maybe we'll expand on our footer and talk a little bit more about the project. That would be a good idea. I think that would be a really good idea. And that's good footer content. Let's put that down at the bottom for people who choose to scroll down and take a closer look at the site. And keep the more above the fold content focused on the projects themselves, right? Yeah, I think so. So, okay, everybody, have a great rest of your day wherever you are. I will see you on Saturday this weekend. I love all of you fine people, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.